Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 version of Audacity for Beginners A to Z. This tutorial is long, but by the time it is over, you will be very, very pleased with what you're able to do in Audacity, and it will save you a lot of time scouring the internet trying to decipher what information is good, not good, and piecing all these bits together. This is very comprehensive. We are going to go over the correct website to get it from, microphone setup, buttons, tools, enabling, disabling plugins. We'll go over the hotkeys that will save you so much time. I'm going to edit a voiceover and go through the workflow and show you step by step what I do. I'll add some background music to it. I'm going to give you free EQs for download in the description with instructions on how to import that into your own Audacity. Talk about the compression settings all the way to saving the project and exporting it in MP3 or WAV to your choice. And by the time we're done, the final product will sound like this. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. So, why should you trust me? I'm Josh Meyer of JoshMeyerVO.com. I'm a professional voice talent. I've done over 3,000 paid voiceovers. I got into that through writing music, and I just so happen to be an expert in Audacity. So if you're curious about what people have to say about what I've been able to do for them, feel free to head over to my site, JoshMeyerVO.com, click on the testimonials. Feel free to play whatever videos you like, but people seem to be very pleased about what I'm able to do for them in regards to their voiceover careers, their podcasting, whether you're a professor looking to get professional sound, if you're an author looking to get on ACX, artists, musicians, etc., you name it. Stay tuned, stay buckled up. You're in great hands. And I know that this has been a really tough year for everybody, but this is going to be the perfect opportunity for you to get that much closer to realizing your goals and your dreams. I hope you enjoy the tutorial, and I will see you on the other side. So right here we have audacityteam.org. That is the official website. The Audacity team has given us professional grade software for free. So big thanks to the Audacity team. They've really done a great job. The latest version right here is 2.4.2. And we have some additional tools that we didn't have in last year's Audacity for Beginners. So we'll definitely cover a few of those. Most certainly the things that I feel will be the most applicable to you. So go ahead and click on that download Audacity, and then you would just select your operating system. So for me, I have Windows. I would click that, but we have Mac and we have Linux. And it's a simple process, just like, installing anything else. So I've already got it installed, and once you have that installed, just rest assured that this is the official website. This is the site that you want to get Audacity from. Now, once you have it downloaded, this is exactly what it will look like, okay? And by default, it will probably be your microphone right here will probably be on your primary sound capture. Now, let's just talk about microphones real fast. Now, if you're using Audacity, you probably need something better than your laptop mic. A budget-friendly USB microphone recommendation sub $100 would definitely be the Samson Meteor mic. This is a $70 mic. It literally plugs directly into the USB, and Audacity will recognize that. So just make sure that your microphone is plugged in prior to opening Audacity, because if it's plugged in after Audacity is opened, Audacity may not recognize it. So if that's the case for you, simply just close the project and reopen it and select your microphone. $70. This microphone rocks for $70, okay? I'm not getting paid by Samson. I'm doing this because I've been through the growing pains, and I know what it's like to take shots into the dark and just hope something works out. But I've been through a lot of USB mics. This thing is bad to the bone for $70. Trust and believe it. All right, so let's move forward. Now, since I have, a much bigger audio chain, for instance, I have my Electro Voice RE20 cardioid dynamic microphone. It's a professional broadcast mic running into my preamp, into my compressor that runs into my interface. Now, not every setup has to be that complicated. It could be as simple as this. An XLR condenser microphone, such as this Blue Ember right here, XLR cable plugged right into your interface, and then interface directly into your computer. That's simple. And then the interface will give your condenser microphone the 48-volt phantom power that it needs to run. So, just a few, ideas of chains. Now, since I have my microphone running through my interface, and by the way, just think of an interface as an external sound card. Since I've got my mic running through the interface, I'm going to want to select my interface. My interface is the Audient ID4. So if you had Focusrite, you would want to click on the Focusrite right here. So now I know that my mic, my sound will be running through the Audient. And that's fantastic. If you have Windows, make sure that Windows Direct Sound right here is selected. We've got our microphone selected. And since I have my headphones plugged into the interface as well, I'm going to want to select that. Now, if you had your headphones plugged directly into your laptop or computer, you're just going to want to select your primary sound driver. Okay, so the Audient, great. Now, if you're using a USB mic, right here, we're selecting whether or not we want to record in mono, meaning one side, left or right, or stereo, meaning both. The USB mics will record in stereo. So if you have a USB mic, go ahead and use stereo. But if you have, kind of a more professional setup, you'll find that most audio interfaces only record in mono. So we will record in mono, and then once we're done recording, editing, and all that stuff, we will create a duplicate of the mono track and make it stereo prior to exporting to ensure that we have sound coming from both left and right speakers. Okay. So just really quick, we're going to talk about some of our tools. Okay. So right here, we have the selection tool. This is going to be the tool that we will use most. Right here, we have the envelope tool. This is going to be useful for music, background music, for your demos, your voiceovers, or your podcast intro, you name it. Right here is the pencil tool. By the way, I will go over all this stuff and show you exactly what they do. This pencil tool is advanced, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying when I show you what it does. But, if you have something very, very small in the sound wave to fix, then you might want to use this pencil tool. But like I said, it is advanced, and you will likely not be using it. So, just keep that in mind. Now, this is the zoom tool. This will allow us to use our mouse to zoom in or zoom out. This is the time slider tool, so we could slide audio around, different timestamps, etc. And this is the multi-tool. The multi-tool is a combination of the envelope tool and the selection tool. So just briefly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a random recording just so we have a track on here to play with, and so I can show you what some of these tools actually do. So here is a random recording. This is a Josh Meyer tutorial. We're just goofing off real fast, yada, yada. Okay, cool. So what I did there is I just pressed record. And boom, there we go. We are recording. It's as easy as that. Alternatively, if we already had audio on here and we wanted to create a new track, we would go to tracks right up here at the top and click add new, and then add new mono track or stereo track if you're using a USB mic. So I could add a new track, and let's say I wanted to record something, but I don't want to hear this. While I'm doing it, I would mute this track, and voila, we could start recording. Now, once we're recording, we can either click stop or better yet, and much more easy, spacebar. Boom. And let's say I wanted to play something back, spacebar. Voila, boom. We could. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about these hotkeys because I know for a fact that it will save you a ton of time and effort in your workflow and your process. So I'm going to set you up for success here. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to drag in some music. So I could do this a few different ways. I could go to File, Import, Audio, and then select, wherever your audio may be, and import it this way. But an easier way, a way that I like, is just to click, drag, and drop it in there. So I'm pulling up some royalty-free music. I'll pick out some lo-fi stuff, and I'll click, drag, and drop, and Audacity will load that right up for me. Okay, awesome. So let's get back into these tools. So we have the selection tool here, and I'm going to zoom in so we can have a better look. What the selection tool does is we can click down, drag over, and highlight stuff. So let's say I had a mistake in my audio, and let's just call this right here the mistake. I could click down, drag over, highlight the mistake. I could silence it. I could cut it out. I could do all sorts of stuff. But this selection tool is the tool you will be using the most. Let's talk about the envelope tool. The envelope tool is going to be very useful, once again, for background music. So I just pulled some background music in here, and before I do that, I'm just going to drag, with the time slider tool, this audio over here, okay? So I'll get my selection tool again. I'll place the cursor right there, and let's talk about this envelope tool. So basically what the envelope tool does is it will allow the music. We want the music to be loud when we're not speaking and then quiet when we are. So what I did here is I just clicked down to create an anchor dot, if you will. And this is just prior to me speaking, and we want it quiet while we're speaking, louder when we're not. So this is when we're done speaking. So I'm going to put another anchor dot. Okay. So we want it loud. So I'm going to click here, drag up to make it more loud. Click here, drag up to make it more loud. Or we could just leave it level, up to you. Depends on how loud or how quiet that music is. But just know, if you make it too loud, you will get some clipping and it won't sound good at all. Okay, so moving forward, we've got these anchor dots here, and we want to make the audio, the music, quiet while we're speaking. So I'm going to click down, and when I drag down, you can see it squeezes this audio. And a good way to know how loud something is you could simply judge it by the size of the sound wave. The bigger the sound wave, the louder it is. The smaller the sound wave, the more quiet it will be. So we'll click this down, and we'll squeeze this audio down, and we'll squeeze it down just a hair more, Oops. Okay, so I will reselect the selection tool. I'll place the cursor right here because that's kind of where I want to start this playing at. And we'll play it. So loud when we're not speaking, quiet when we are. And boom, there we go. We are recording. It's as easy as that. Alternatively, boom, just like that. And we could squeeze the audio down even further if we wanted, have it more quiet. Let's check it out. And boom, there we go. We are recording. It's as easy as that. Right. Alternative. So that's exactly what this envelope tool does. It's going to be very effective for podcast intros, background music, voiceover demos, etc. The pencil tool. Okay, we'll talk about this. Once again, you guys are probably not going to use this. Pretty advanced. I rarely use it, and I've been doing this thing for a long time. So if you have some audio that needs to be fixed, like a plosive or something like that, and just to kind of give you an idea, like I will just create a plosive real fast. So let me zoom out, actually. And I'm going to mute this track, and I'll just make a plosive. Plosive, plosive. Okay, so you can see the plosive right here, these spikes, okay? And all plosives kind of look the same. So that's a plosive, and this is a plosive. I've also got a video on plosives and how to fix them on my channel. So definitely, definitely check out some of these other videos and subscribe, because I've certainly got plenty more coming for you. But just the pencil tool. How does the pencil tool work? Well, we're going to have to zoom way in. And by zooming in, here we go. We're going to click zoom in, and we have to get really, really way in there, okay? So I would want to just try to straighten out this plosive. So let's try to straighten out some of these wonky curves here, But this is not the most effective way to, to help a plosive, just so you know. But let's say we wanted to straighten it out. We just click down and try to straighten it out. Really what I would do to fix a plosive, if you have this issue, is I will select this selection tool. I'll zoom in on this plosive. I would highlight the plosive. I would go to effect, and I would fade in. And then I'd Control R to repeat that last step until that line gets nice and quiet. But that's exactly how I would deal with that. Anyway, moving forward. Got to stay on track here. Okay, so we've got the selection tool, the envelope tool. Let's talk about the time slider tool. So I'm just going to get rid of this plosive real fast. Okay, cool. So let's just say, okay, well, I've got this voiceover and I want it to start at 30 seconds. So I'll highlight the time slider tool and I will drag the voiceover to 30 seconds. And let's say I wanted to get rid of the rest of this music because we didn't need it for some reason, right? And then we wanted to have a nice fade in, so I just cut that out, and I'll show you exactly how to do all that stuff. Actually, I'll undo. So what I did here is I wanted to get rid of this music, so I just highlighted here, and we could silence that. We could alternatively highlight both of these tracks and cut them away right here. Cut. So we have cut, copy, and paste. And when you hover your mouse over anything, it will tell you what the hotkey is for it. So right here we have silence, paste, copy, and cut. So we could click cut, or alternatively, we could Control X. Because when we get comfortable with these hotkeys, you're going to find that you're saving a lot of time. Like I'm at a point where I've got my hand on the mouse and my other hand on the keyboard, and the workflow is seamless. I want to get you on that level. Now, speaking of hotkeys, don't you think it would be cool if you could just silence something by pressing S, highlighting it and pressing S? I think that would be cool. I will certainly go over that with you. So let's go to our preferences. Let's click Edit, Preferences. And once we have preferences open, let's click Keyboard. And what we see in this box right here is a list of all of the hotkeys. So if you're looking for something specific, let's say I wanted to know what duplicate was, right? We could click in that box and type it in, duplicate. Pow, Control D. Okay, but right now we're going to change your silence from probably Control L or Command L if you're on Mac to S. Okay, so let's type in silence, and right here, okay, it'll, like I said, it'll probably say Control L. So I'm just going to set it back to Control L real fast so that I could walk you through this process. Okay, so we'll go back to preferences. We'll go back to silence in the keyboard, silence, Control L. Okay, so click where it says Control or Command L. You see it pop up in this box down here. Click in this box, type S. S, we're going to click Set. Then we're going to click OK. And once I hit Set, you can see that it changed from Control L to S. So after set, then we will click OK. And let's say I wanted to silence something. Right, we'll call this a mistake. This is a sound that I didn't want. All right, S, it's gone. Gone. So I want to play, spacebar. I want to play something. There we go. Spacebar. We are recording. I want to stop something, spacebar. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So we know what cut, copy, paste does. Actually, I'm going to undo my last step. So edit and undo is going to be your best friend. We're going to make plenty of mistakes on the way. Just know that we can undo that and go back plenty of steps. So I'm going to redo that last cut. Let's talk about cut, copy, paste. So we have Control X cut, Control C for copy, Control V for paste. We've made our silence S. So let's just say I wanted to copy something. Okay. Let's say I wanted to copy this whole track, or maybe I just wanted to copy only this. I would just highlight this, Control C to copy it, and I wanted to paste it at 30 seconds. I'll place the cursor at 30 seconds, Control V to paste it. That's exactly how that would work. Super easy stuff. Let's talk about some of these effects. Okay. Let's go back to the notes. Let's make sure we're staying on track here. All right, yeah, let's talk about some of these effects. We just got done talking about some of these buttons, tools. We're going to talk about enabling and disabling plugins. So let's go to Effect, and we would click Add or Remove Plugins. And up here at the top, if we click Disabled, it would give us a list of all of the plugins that are available to us that are not currently enabled. So if you find something you like, okay, ACX check, you want that? Let's click that. Let's click Enable, and we'll click OK. And then the ACX check will now be available to us. It's under Analyze here. Oops. It's under Analyze. ACX check, bow, there it is. Okay. So that's exactly how you would add or remove plugins. I do have a tutorial on how to manually add plugins to Audacity. So that's on the channel as well. So let's just say, for instance sake, I'm just going to give you a quick example of how this would work out. Okay. We want a nice smooth transition into the voiceover. So I'm just going to click down and highlight this area. I'm going to go to Effect, and I'm going to click Fade In. And as you can see, instead of it just being loud out of the gate, now we're having a nice gradual fade in. And we wanted the music to get more quiet when we're speaking, so we're going to select the selection tool. Click here, just prior to where we start to speak, to create an anchor dot there. And right when we're done, we'll click here to create another anchor dot. And we're going to squeeze this audio down here in the center. Squeezed it too much. Squeeze it down, squeeze it down. We'll squeeze it nice and down, okay? So in this right, it would be loud when we're not talking and more quiet when we are. And squeeze it down. Okay, so I will reselect my selection tool. I will unmute the music just so you can kind of see, how this tool works. And boom. There we go. We are recording. It's as easy as that. Alternatively, and loud again once we're done. And all right, so let's say, okay, it's over at 10 seconds. I want it to be over at 10 seconds. We could click there at 10 seconds and get rid of the rest of the music. And we could do that a few different ways. We could either zoom way out, click at 10 seconds, highlight the rest of the track, and cut it away. Control X to cut that, or use the cut tool. Oops, it was a mistake, right? No, it wasn't. But so that's one way to get rid of the rest of the music. Another way, we want it to finish here at 10 seconds. We'll click here at 10 seconds, place the cursor there. We will go to Edit, Clip Boundaries, and say Split. And you could see this black bar shows up here. And what that does is it splits these into two tracks. So we can do with each one we can operate differently without it affecting the other. So we just want to get rid of the music that's on the end. So I'll just double click to highlight the stuff we want to get rid of, Control X to cut that away. And we want a nice fade out on the end. So we're going to highlight the rest of this music, and I'm going to zoom in to make sure that, we have the precision that we're looking for. And I will go back to Effect, and I will select Fade Out. And we'll play this just really quick so you can see exactly how all this stuff goes. And boom, there we go. We are recording. It's as easy as that. Alternatively, right. So that's exactly how you could do that stuff. Now, I will be recording a voiceover here shortly so that we can cover some of the things here. I'm just creating a track. So we could cover some of these things, such as the equalization, compression settings, processing the audio. Okay. A lot of people miss some of these steps in the end, and they're wondering, like, why do I sound so quiet? Why do I sound so hollow? This is going to fix a lot of those issues for you. And I'll tell you exactly, what compression is, what equalization is, what it does, how it's beneficial, etc. Let me pull my notes back up to make sure that we're still on track, okay? Enabling, disabling the plugins. All right, well, I think we're about ready to dive into a voiceover. Okay. So I'm just going to do like a Dodge commercial real fast, okay? So I'll take my headphones off. Let me get my southern twang. All right, check this out. So I want to record. So I could either just record here, click record, or I could go to tracks, add new mono track. And I want to make sure we're starting at the beginning here. So I double clicked to put that cursor at the beginning by default. So here we go. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, so that was all right. Definitely wasn't good. So that was one take. I'm going to do another take because I know I can do better. Get a sip of water. So let's say you're doing multiple takes for your vocals, for music, or your voiceover. We'll just simply mute the first take. I'm going to do Control-Shift-N to create a new track, or I could go to Tracks, Add New, etc. But I like Control-Shift-N for a new track. And here we go. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, so that was a little better. I'm not going to kill you with, being a perfectionist with my voiceovers today. But, I certainly wouldn't settle just there. We're just getting started. And realistically, I'd Control-Shift-N, I'd create a new track, record that again, until I really feel like I crushed it. And since I've got a new track on there, I'll just do one more take. Last take, I swear. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, so that wasn't bad. And you could, sift through, pick your favorite take. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, cool. And we'll check this one. Where the road ends, life begins. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pressing solo. And whatever track I press solo on, it will be just only playing that track. So, where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. All right, cool. So, yeah. I probably wouldn't keep that. I wouldn't keep this first one either. So I'm just getting rid of those. And I will probably keep this one. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Okay, cool. So now that we've got this voiceover here, some people have a good amount of background noise, such as your computer fan, your AC running in the background, etc. So what we could do is we would do a round of noise reduction. Okay, so what we're doing is we're getting a sample of just the room noise, not your computer chair making a sound, not your voice, just the room noise. Now, my room is pretty quiet, so I'm going to really have to crank this up for you to be able to hear it. Now you can hear me kind of moving in the background. Okay. So this is just room noise. And if you were unable to only get room noise prior to your recording, don't fret. Simply click at the end of your recording, click record, and don't make a noise for 1 to 2 seconds. All right, space bar to stop that. And we got a nice sample here, I believe. So that is only room noise. And I literally had to drag this gain slider way up just so you could hear it. So, going back to 0, you can't hear it. I do have a good room. But if I crank it way up, you can hear it. That static, that white noise in the background. So what we would do is we would highlight that, make sure we only have room noise. We would go to Effect, we will click Noise Reduction, and we're going to get the noise profile. Once we have the noise profile and we want to apply it to the rest of the audio, we will double click the track that we want to apply the background noise reduction to, and we will go back to Effect and either click Repeat Noise Reduction or Control R. I like Control R. I'm a hotkey person. I like that. Control R. And I will apply it here as well. So actually, I'm going to undo that last noise reduction. I will duplicate this track so we can do a side-by-side. And now I'm going to repeat noise reduction on this track. So here is the before noise reduction. And here is the after. Night and day difference. So I'll crank it up. It's at 27. This one is at 27. All right, cool. So without noise reduction and with the noise reduction, way more quiet. So that's exactly how noise reduction works. So that would be your first step. Now, I don't actually need this, so I'm going to double click that, Control X to cut it away. And I don't need this track down here, so we could just get rid of that. All right, so when we're doing a voiceover, typically we want a half of a second of lead-in time. So we start right here at about 2 seconds. I'm going to click here at 1.5 seconds. I'm going to drag it over and cut the additional time away. Control X, don't need it. And on top of that, we want an additional half second of time on the end. So I'm going to place the cursor there. We'll zoom in. We end right here at about 10 seconds. And so at about 10.5, I'm going to click, drag over to highlight, Control X to cut that away. All right, so we've already made our silence S. Now, if you have a long form narration of sorts, you could use this noise gate right here. Let's see here. So just to kind of give you an example, I'll mute this. I'll create just a new recording, Control Shift N for a new track. And let's just say this is my podcast. It's like an hour long or something like that, or 30 minutes. And it's not a commercial, right? It's not a 30-second commercial or a 10-second commercial that I want to come through and silence the gaps because it would take you forever to do that. Well, what you could do is you could simply slap a noise gate on it. So what I've done is I'm creating this random track. I'm going to breathe a little bit, just to, put some breaths on there for example's sake. And I will stop that recording. What you could do for your long form narration, whether that be, your audiobooks or your podcast, is you could use the noise gate. Okay. So the noise gate will say, okay, the gate threshold. Okay, so anything that is beyond negative 24.8 dBs as of this point in time will pass through the noise gate. And everything that is below negative 24.8 dBs will be reduced, level reduction reduced by 30 dBs. So, just to kind of give you an idea of how this would work. And by the way, a noise gate is something that you would want to slap on the end. But, to give you an idea of how this would work, I'll just slap it on with the current settings that I have. And I have a feeling I need to adjust that gate threshold because I can see that it looks like some of my words may have been cut off here at the end. However, to do that, well, what you could do is you could simply slap a noise gate on it. So what I've done is I'm creating this random track. I'm going to breathe. Okay, cool. So that's actually not too bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that noise gate so that you can have a side-by-side comparison. Now I'm going to redo the noise gate on the top track, and pow, noise gate has been applied on the top track. So let's listen to this without the noise gate. This is my podcast. It's like an hour long or something like that, or 30 minutes. And it's not a commercial, right? It's not a 30-second commercial. So right now I'm just going to stop us so we can point out a few things. I'll unmute the stop track. Right here, this breath on this bottom track, you can see that's gone now. That's gone right up here. So these little blips, they are gone up here on the track that we've applied the noise gate to. So I just wanted to point out some of the visuals to you, and before we listen to the track where the noise gate has been applied. A 30-second commercial or a 10-second commercial that I want to come through and silence the gaps because it would take you forever to do that. Okay, cool. So I will go back to the stop track and we'll listen to the track with the noise gate on it. This is my podcast. It's like an hour long or something like that, or 30 minutes. And it's not a commercial, right? It's not a 30-second commercial or a 10-second commercial that I want to come through and silence the gaps because it would take you forever to do that. Well, okay, so you can still hear a little bit of breath, but I mean, it is way more suppressed than it was prior. So this is without the noise gate. With the noise gate. Night and day difference. So no noise gate with the noise gate. You get the idea. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that, noise gate will be effective for long form narration such as audiobooks and podcasts. So anyway, I will get rid of that. We'll go right back here. So step 1 on the voiceover, the audio processing chain is going to be noise reduction. Step 2 is going to be equalization. Now you will see, I'm just going to double click to highlight this, Control D to duplicate it, Control D. And now we have an exact duplicate of these two tracks right here. You're going to find a lot of people saying to do a bass boost, do a treble boost. That's not great advice. Not great advice. I actually have a bunch of EQ videos. Feel free to check those out, and I go into deep detail as to why that is not good advice, and also the EQs that I've created and how they are more effective. So anyway, here's the correct chain that we want to look for. We want to look for step 1, noise reduction, EQ, step 2, step 3, compression, step 4, normalization. Okay, so that's the typical processing chain. So we've already done the noise reduction. Now we're going to add an EQ. And once again, EQ for free in the description below. You're welcome. All right, so filter curve is equalization. We have filter curve, and we also have graphic EQ. So filter curve, what is the difference between them? As you can see, let's see here, user presets. going to select my male EQ. As you can see, the filter curve, okay, it has lines and waves and swoops and dupes and yada, yada, yada. The graphic EQ looks like this. It has sliders, okay? So what is the difference here? The difference is that filter curve is just more precise. They do the same things, but filter curve is not limited. So for instance, we have 200 hertz right here, and it goes right to 250. But what if I wanted to attack 215 hertz specifically? We have 315 to 400. What if I wanted to specifically attack 365 hertz? We can do that with the filter curve. We can't with the graphic EQ, but graphic EQ still works great. So anyway, I'm going to go back to filter curve, and I am going to throw on my male EQ here. By the way, I do create custom EQs. If you are looking for custom EQs, feel free to reach out to me. But right here, we've got the male EQ, and let's slap that on. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's done a lot. It doesn't look like there was a big change, if you will. But let me just make this track bigger, okay, so that we can really see it. Let's undo the filter curve. Make this track big, 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 big. Okay. And let's go ahead and slap that filter curve back on now that we can see it. So let's slap it on there. Now the audio has changed. Trust and believe it. Trust and believe it. Okay, so let's make this small again, so it's not jumping off the screen here. All right, cool. All right, great. So EQ has been applied. Now we're going to do compression. Okay, so what does compression do? Compression deals with the dynamic range. So for instance, let's say you're singing and you have certain parts of your song where you're singing incredibly loud and you're just belting it out. And then there's more soft parts of the song where you're singing a bit more quietly. Now the bigger the difference in how loud the sound is, the more compression will be needed. So for a voiceover, you don't need a lot of compression. And realistically, if you over compress things, you will tend to sound robotic, boxy, things that are undesirable. So we want to stay away from over compression. Now, once again, if you have a song where you're singing loud and then you're singing quiet, then we're going to need to change the ratio. You know, like if you're a vocalist who has a situation like that, you might want to go to 4-to-1 ratio. But for voiceover, for typical speech, a 2-to-1 ratio is plenty. The threshold, anywhere from -10 to -20 dBs is perfect. I'm right here in the middle. -15 noise floor, -40 ratio 2-to-1, attack and release sliders all the way to the left. And I've got both of these boxes down here checked. So let's apply that compressor. Pow. And you can see that it blew that audio way up. Okay, so let's listen without the compression. World's longest lasting pickups. And with the compression. World's longest lasting pickups. Night and day difference there. And then we would finish that off with normalization. Normalization will bring it into a healthy range. So we're going to want to normalize this to -3 dBs. Okay. So let's normalize that. And right here, we're almost finished, but let's make sure that the spacing and the timing feels right, feels natural, feels good of this voiceover. So let's have a quick listen to it. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Okay, so I feel like enjoy the ride should come in a little sooner. So I'm going to cut out just a little time there and get a listen to it. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Cool. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, cool. All right, so the timing feels good here. Whoa. I've got to normalize the whole thing here. So let's normalize this entire thing. I was like wondering what the heck was going on here in the beginning. All right, fantastic. And now I'm going to recut out a little bit of that time, and let's listen to it one more time to make sure that the timing is good. Road ends. Life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, great. I want to cut just a little bit of time out here. The road ends. Life begins. World's long. Okay, just want to cut a little bit of time out right here. I'll highlight some time. Control X to cut that away. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Okay, now let's say that we've got some sibilants in here, some of that sharp S, CH, T sounds that can be a bit piercing. There's an easy way to deal with some of these sibilants. Just like I showed you with the plosives, you can identify sibilants as well. The sibilants are going to be that dense waveform. So you can see right here, we can kind of see through the sound wave, but right here, it's a bit more dense. And sure enough, it's an S. Look. Where the road ends. S. Pow. And let's find some more. This is probably a sibilant. This right here is going to be a sibilant. Sharp. World's longest lasting pickups. Right. So you get the idea. So this is a CH. What we can do is not only identify them, but we can de-amplify them. So let's say you wanted to make it less loud, right? And by the way, if you just have something and you want to just, amplify the whole track or whatever, this is exactly what you do. If you didn't want to like go through the processing chain, etc., you would just double click your track, click amplify, and it will tell you how much you can amplify the audio before exceeding the threshold. Okay, so you would just amplify that, pow. But just know that you are touching the ceiling, like you're dangerously close to clipping when you do that. So if you were going to do that, I'll just click amplify. If it says you can amplify by 13.9, do 12.9 instead. That would give you a full dB of headroom prior to any clipping or digital distortion. So I'll just click here, 12.9, pow, and boom. And as you can see, we're no longer touching the ceiling. So that's something that you could do if you'd like. But moving back, we're going back to the voiceover. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, cool. So we want to take care of some of these sibilants, okay? Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting. Okay, so this is a sharp sibilant right here. So I'm just going to highlight only the dense sibilant. I will go to effect, I will click amplify, and I will de-amplify. So I'll drag this slider until it goes into the negative. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at about -2 and click OK. And since it's already highlighted and I want to do it a little bit more, I'll just Control R to repeat that last step. And you can see it shrinking down, and I'll do it one more time. So right now we have decreased that sibilant by 6 dBs. World's longest last. All right, cool. And I will actually undo that. Undo. Okay, cool. And I will create a duplicate of this track so that we can have, a side-by-side comparison. You can see the before and after. So I will go back to amplify, -2 about, and I'm going to Control R, until I have that sibilant down to a level that I feel is reasonable. And right here we have another sibilant, as you can see. Longest lasting. All right, this is a little sharp right here. So I'm going to repeat that last step that I took. So Control R, which is de-amplifying by -2. Control R, Control R. So I've done that by -6 now, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Control R, Control R, Control R. And you could see it shrinking down to a more reasonable range. Now, another way to deal with sibilants, there is the Esser Plugins, and you could also attack that via Equalizer. I am building a course on how to build your own custom EQs, specifically tailored to your voice, what you do, your microphone, your setup. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. That is going to be an incredibly, incredibly valuable course. So anyway, let's move forward. Pickups. Okay, so that's sharp. So I'm going to highlight that. Control R, Control R, Control R. Now I do have some sibilant cutting EQs that just target sibilants. But my sibilants may not be the same as yours because each microphone has a different frequency output and each person has a different voice, and the way our mouths move are just different. Enjoy the ride. All right, great. All right, so we're almost there. We are almost done. Okay. So let's say, if you had some stuff here that you wanted to just silence, right? You could just silence the gaps, highlight that gap, silence. We would just highlight this area, see if there's anything in there. And I don't know if you can hear that, but I'll crank it up. Right. So you could just highlight that, S, silence. You could highlight this area. Silence if you want. Highlight this area. You get the idea. You get the idea. S, S, and S. Whatever. All right, great. So we're just about done. Now we're going to double click to highlight this track. We are going to duplicate it. So once again, you could go to Edit, Duplicate, or Control D for me. Control D. Now we're going to make this a stereo track. So I will click on the top track, arrow down, click Make Stereo Track. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. All right, cool. And just before we wrap up here, let's listen to before we dealt with the sibilants in comparison to afterwards. Life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Okay, so let's listen to this. Lasting pickups. Dodge. Okay, and afterwards. Lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. And we can visibly see the size difference of the waveform right here. It's going to be a loud sibilant right here. It's going to be a much more quiet sibilant. So going back to wrapping up here, double click to highlight this track, Control D to duplicate, go to the top track, click the arrow down, and click Make Stereo Track. Now we have audio coming from both left and right speakers. And just a little bonus, let's say, we wanted to throw in some background music or something like that, right? Just an easy way to do it, without getting too complicated. Now, I wouldn't, clearly I would become more detailed if I was doing a commercial for a client or creating a voiceover demo for a student, etc. I would just for something easy, you could click, drag, and drop some music in there. And let's try this Equinox. That's probably good. Yeah, I love this track. It's tight. Okay. Use the time slider tool, when the music kicks in. Okay. Go back to my selection tool. Click over here. Oops. We'll fade in. Control R to do another fade in. And we're not going to need this music right here. So we could just actually, just start fading out. Effect, fade out. Control, Control, Control. Here's this gap. Let's get rid of this other stuff. Control X. And Let's use the envelope tool, huh? Okay, let's do it. And we'll zoom in just a little bit to get some precision. And we want it louder when we're not speaking, more quiet when we are. Anchor dot here. And when we're done speaking, anchor dot. Okay, great. All right. And we want it quiet when we begin to speak. So we'll start to squeeze this down. And we'll squeeze it down a little bit more. And maybe we want it loud when we're not speaking. And maybe we want it loud when we're done. And I will go back to the selection tool here. I'll zoom out and I will highlight the end, right, because we want to have a nice fade out here. So we'll go back to effect, fade out, and I'm just going to Control R, yada, yada, yada. And we'll cut off this end here. We don't need it. And we can highlight all of this area right here, cut that away. And now we've got really what we want, you know. We could probably cut even more time off at the beginning, but, you know, I'm just trying not to be, you know, a perfectionist to the T here, but you're going to get the idea. All right, so we're going to fade in, Control R to repeat that. I'm going to highlight this gap. We're going to cut this time out, and this is all we need. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. Voila! You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know what the heck you're doing in Audacity. So let's say we wanted to export this, okay? We want to export this. We want to have an MP3 or a WAV, okay? So we would just go to File, go to Export, and we have options, export as MP3 or export as a WAV. And yeah, we'll just call this a sample for my people. Fantastic. And let's say we wanted to save this project. We would click on File, and we would click Save Project As. And we'll just call this sample. Boom. We'll save it to the desktop. And let's just make sure that we've got it. And I'm going to create a folder, you know, sample project, whatever. So just know this. When you save the Audacity project, each project comes with two files, two folders. One is the .aup, and then one is the data. Okay, so we have sample, the .aup, and then sample data folder. We need both of these files for the project to open up. And if you move one folder somewhere else and leave the other file in the same spot, it's not going to know how to work with each other anymore. So just so you know, it's imperative that you keep these together. So I'm going to bring them both into the same exact folder, okay? And I will just close this, and I will open up the project. Boom. And there it is. Now, if you ever get a prompt like that, like there's some orphan files, continue without deleting anything, because chances are if you delete something, it's going to foul you up, and you don't want that. Okay, so this is that's it. That's it. We've got sample here from beginning to end. Ladies and gentlemen, now you know what the heck you are doing in Audacity. So just one more time for you. Where the road ends, life begins. World's longest lasting pickups. Dodge. Enjoy the ride. How about that? Now you know what the heck you are doing in Audacity, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome. Keep your eyes peeled for the How to Create Your Own EQs course. Keep your eyes peeled for the up-and-coming content. And of course, if you need help with your personal projects and you need something a bit more hands-on, or you need help in your voiceover career, with your podcast, you name it, feel free to reach out to me. I am doing private paid sessions, and if you're looking for a custom EQ, feel free to reach out. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive. I got your back.